Welcome to today's Explainer. Hey there, students of economics, history, or honestly, anyone just trying to figure out how human society ticks. Today, we're diving headfirst into a massive, absolutely fascinating thought experiment. We're going to explore how our entire society could potentially function without a single dollar, euro, or yen in circulation. Sounds pretty radical, right? But as we unpack the source material today, you'll actually see it's deeply rooted in both ancient history and some very real modern economic theories. Let's get into it. Imagine waking up tomorrow morning, checking your phone, and boom, every bank account, every dollar bill, and every credit card is just gone, wiped out. How would you survive? How would you even get your groceries? And here's the real kicker. Would you actually be happier? Now, I know that sounds like the chaotic setup for a dystopian sci-fi movie, but sociologists, historians, and economists have seriously debated this exact scenario for decades. To wrap our heads around why anyone would even want to abolish money in the first place, we've got to look at what money does to us right now, especially when we lose it. See, research shows financial loss isn't just a math problem, it is literally a medical issue. According to the Asher Longevity Institute, the chronic fear and anxiety of financial instability actually triggers cognitive decline and impairment. It forces these drastic, incredibly stressful lifestyle changes, leads to severe social isolation because of the shame tied to losing status, and it often pushes people toward really unhealthy coping mechanisms like substance abuse. So if money is causing this much biological and psychological damage, it kind of begs the question, right? Could we just design a system completely without it? Part 1. Imagining a moneyless world. So, if we completely strip away the cash, how on earth do resources actually move? Well, the core principle of a moneyless economy, which you've probably seen in socialist and communist theories, boils down to this: contribute according to ability, receive according to need. In this theoretical model, instead of grinding for a paycheck just to buy survival goods, citizens simply provide whatever labor they're best at. In return, they just take exactly what they require from communal storehouses. Okay, let's picture how that actually looks in practice for our basic needs. Imagine a community where person A works out on a farm, person B builds houses, and person C works as a doctor. The farmer, the builder, and the doctor all benefit directly from each other's free contributions. If the farmer gets sick, the doctor treats them. If the doctor needs a home, the builder constructs it. All of this happens without a single dollar changing hands. Everyone just benefits from the collective resource pool. It's like a giant puzzle where every piece perfectly supports the others. Part 2, what about luxury goods? Now, as students of economics, I know exactly what you're thinking right now. Sure, food and houses are essential, but what about the fun stuff? How do you get video games, or a new guitar, or collectibles in a world where literally no one is getting paid to make them? This specific debate from a Reddit user hits the nail on the head. What happens to Pokemon cards? It perfectly represents the ultimate hurdle here, the whole issue of hobbies, wants, and non-essential goods. Theorists argue that to really understand this, we've got to compare our current system to a theoretical one. They suggest our current economy intentionally creates what's called artificial scarcity, just to drive up prices and generate profit. But in a moneyless model, the production of luxury goods would rely on something called free association. This basically means that passionate hobbyists would freely organize to produce the things they absolutely love, using resources from that collective pool we talked about. This is in stark contrast to vulnerable people being forced to mass-produce luxuries just to earn a meager survival wage. Let's apply that directly to a trading card game. Without that crushing, everyday pressure of working a 40-hour-a-week job just to survive, theorists suggest game designers and artists would have way more free time. They could design awesome new games and simply open source their digital files for the world. Anyone who wanted the cards could just print them out themselves at home. The entire motivation shifts away from profit and leans 100% into pure passion and community enjoyment. Part 3, labor, vouchers, and automation. But hey, human nature being what it is, you've got to ask, what stops someone from just taking everything and contributing absolutely nothing? Well, before reaching a pure moneyless utopia, economists theorize a transitional phase using labor vouchers. Here's how it works. If you work a certain number of hours, you receive vouchers for those specific hours. They function a little bit like money, but with one massive, game-changing difference. They are entirely non-transferable, and they literally expire the second they're used to acquire an item. Because you can't trade them or hoard them like cash, it completely eliminates the concentration of wealth and the creation of economic classes. Looking even further ahead, theorists heavily rely on the magic of technological advancement. Imagine full AI automation that can perfectly predict our consumption needs. That means goods are produced exactly to demand with absolutely zero waste. Think of the replicators from Star Trek, machines that just materialize whatever you want exactly when you want it. Once technology steps up and eradicates physical scarcity, the human desire to hoard resources basically just vanishes into thin air. Part 4. Real-world alternative economies. Now, I know that all sounds incredibly sci-fi, but variations of this actually exist out in the real world right now. Take time dollars, for example. This is a system documented by the Schumacher Center for New Economics where you can literally bank the time you spend helping a neighbor. Let's say you spend 2 hours fixing your neighbor's roof. Boom, you get 2 time dollars. Later on, if you need someone to tutor you in math, you just cash in those time dollars. It builds this powerful gift economy that weaves reciprocity and trust back into a community, completely outside the realm of traditional commercial exchange. Local communities can also take matters into their own hands on a much larger scale. Back in 1991, the town of Ithaca, New York, actually created their very own paper notes called Ithaca Hours. And instead of being backed by gold or the federal government, they were denominated in hours of labor. Originally backed by a $10 average hourly wage, these notes were issued to local businesses who were willing to accept them. It was brilliant because it kept trade strictly within the regional marketplace, totally shielding local shops from predatory global economics. Then there's also LETS, or Local Economic Trading Systems, which first popped up in Canada back in the early 1980s. This is a totally self-regulated system operating completely without physical cash. Members who want to buy or sell local services simply phone in their transactions to a central coordinator. That coordinator then debits the buyer's account and credits the seller's account right there on a community ledger. It completely bypasses traditional banks, totally ignores interest rates, and keeps the power entirely within the community. Part 5. Redefining True Wealth. So all of this builds toward a massive, fundamental shift in how we actually view human success. Starting with a bit of historical context, author Daniel Quinn outlines the profound difference between taker and leaver societies. Taker societies, which is exactly what our modern world is, essentially lock away the food and resources to force people into labor just to survive. But for millions of years, humans lived in leaver societies. In these ancient structures, wealth wasn't hoarded food or stacks of gold. Wealth was the absolute guarantee of mutual care. You only went hungry if the entire community went hungry. The community support itself was the actual currency. Bringing this all the way back to the medical reality we touched on at the very start, our source at the Asher Longevity Institute points out something absolutely vital. The ultimate goal of any economy shouldn't just be stacking up monetary assets. True wealth is your health, your mental well-being, and your resilience when facing adversity. If your economic system is literally destroying your cognitive health and isolating you, well, it's failing its primary purpose, isn't it? And so I am going to leave you with this final provocative thought to take away from today's explainer. If all the dollars, all the banks, and all the stock markets just vanished into thin air tomorrow morning, what specific skills, community connections, and personal passions would make you truly wealthy? It is definitely something to chew on. Thanks so much for learning with us today.